over my first bodybuilding meal plan and why it was sucked, why it was just terrible. So my first meal plan for bodybuilding came from a bodybuilder in the gym. I had joined the gym. I was really excited about getting started, joined the gym, made friends with one of the best bodybuilders that I saw in the gym. So I asked him if he could write me a meal plan because I had no idea what I was doing. I said, hey, buddy, can you write me a meal plan? Do you mind? I'll pay you, whatever it was. And he put together this meal plan for me, and I'm going to go over it with you today. This meal plan was designed to get me huge, right? And that's exactly what I thought it was. And I'm going to cover kind of some of the things and mistakes that I thought. And, I just kind of want to go over this with you because I'm sure some of you were in my shoes before and have learned from those mistakes. So the meal plan consisted just like this. Again, now I just asked him to write a meal plan. He didn't look at me, didn't like take any inventory of like, okay, how much do you weigh now? You need this, you need that. Again, it was also a different time too. This is like 20 years ago. So it's not nowadays where people would kind of really assess your physique and say, okay, how much do you weigh now? What is your body fat? How much protein you need? It's very, very different then. So meal one was 3 eggs and toast. Again, I'm going to cover this in a second. So 3 eggs and toast. I think it was 2 slices of toast at the time. Meal 2 was a shake, probably 2 scoops of protein. I don't remember if there was anything included in that. It might have been a banana or something like that. Meal 3 was chicken and a potato. Meal 4 was a shake again, same kind of thing. And meal 5 was a protein. I think it was a chicken or a steak and a potato, right? So that was the meal plan. So here's the problem. In the beginning, I had no idea about anything. So I said, okay, this meal plan is going to work amazing for me because this amazing looking bodybuilder wrote it for me. And I'm going to look like him now because he wrote this meal plan. And most people fall for that trap, right? They kind of think like, okay, this so-called expert wrote this plan because that's what he does and it's going to work the best. It doesn't really work like that. You kind of find out why. But I had no idea about anything. I didn't know anything about nutrition. I had no idea what any of this meant. I thought they were magical foods. I thought if I had 3 eggs for breakfast that I was going to grow from those 3 eggs for breakfast and toast. Like it couldn't be anything else. Like if I wanted something else, like no, it was just like the toast was perfect. And it was Ezekiel bread. So it had to be Ezekiel bread, which was like crazy expensive versus regular toast. So if I didn't have the Ezekiel bread and I had regular toast, that was like not on the plan. And I was failing miserably and I was going to put on body fat. So what started to happen was this meal plan became too rigid, right? It just became too strict. Remember, I was a young kid at the time when I got this. I was like probably 14. So, for a 14-year-old kid to go from eating whatever a 14-year-old usually eats to this was like a total 180 turn in my life as far as like what foods I should be eating. And at that time, I probably was having eggs for breakfast too, but it was probably like eggs, a sandwich, and then like whatever my mom cooked for dinner. But this was like 180. My mom hated this, right? Because now I'm 14 years old. So I'm like, Ma, you have to make these foods. I need chicken. My mom's like, doesn't want to do that. She has other kids to feed. She said, I don't want to, I got to make all this extra food for you, right? So, like I said, anyway, I thought that there were magical foods. I thought that there were certain things that I needed to eat. Like if I didn't eat this Ezekiel bread, I was going to gain body fat and I wasn't going to put on as much muscle. But what started to happen was I got sick of the protein intake. Like I actually got nauseous eating chicken because again, I didn't know anything about anything. I didn't know how to cook food. I didn't know anything. So I told my mom, like, listen, just make it as plain as possible. And that was like when the Foreman grill came out. So for those of you who've ever had plain chicken breast on a Foreman grill, that's like eating paper. Like, what I'm talking about when I'm talking about like that. But like I would see it on my plate and I would literally get nauseous. And the reason why that happened was because I probably went from having about 80 grams of protein a day to over 200 in the blink of an eye. And it's just too much protein all at once. Not to mention the stomach pains that I got, the diarrhea that I got, like the stomach aches, because it was just way too much. My body wasn't ready for all that protein. But again, I didn't know it at the time. I just asked the guy to write me a meal plan. He wrote me a meal plan and that was it. So that was that, right? Then, like I said, this plan was too rigid. There was no flexibility. I think the potatoes that was supposed to be on the meal plan was sweet potatoes. And I think I had run out of sweet potatoes or whatever. So I had asked him in the gym like the next day, like, oh, I ran out of sweet potatoes. Can I have a regular potato or can I have rice instead? And he's like, no, sweet potatoes are the best. They're going to fill you out. I didn't know what that meant at the time. They're going to fill you out. It's what you need to eat. So I was like, oh, I need sweet potatoes. But it was just too rigid because that's not the truth, right? Sweet potatoes are not magic. Chicken is not magic. Eggs or Ezekiel bread is not magic. There's no such thing as a magical food. So in reality, and again, like I said, it's different time, but it wasn't about the sweet potato. It was about the 50 to 60 grams of carbohydrates I was having in that meal. Ultimately, this whole experience is what pushed me to get my degree in nutrition and to become a nutritionist, because I really wanted to understand how nutrition worked, because I knew how important nutrition was for training. You know, they talk about nutrition being 80% of what you see in the mirror, and that's true when it comes to fat loss, but when it comes to putting on muscle, I would say it's probably closer to 70. Your training is very, very important as well. But that aside, you know, the meal plan was just too rigid. And like on the weekends, I was a kid still. So like if I would go out with my friends and my friends were eating other stuff, I would eat that and I'd be like, oh shit, I'm off the diet now. And then I'll start on Monday. So like I would not binge, but I would eat whatever I want like on the weekend. And then Monday I like start the plan again. And it just kind of went through this cycle. And what happened? What was the results here? Nothing. I struggled to adhere to it because I didn't understand it. I never weighed my food because, again, it wasn't instructed to me to weigh my food. And even if so, if I did, I probably did start weighing it at some point. But at some point, I was just like, I didn't understand how it worked. So the problem and why my first meal plan sucked, it wasn't the foods. It wasn't that it wasn't customized or anything like that. It was just that I had no knowledge of it. And this is why I tell people today, it's like, I can write you the best meal plan in the world, but if you're not going to follow through on it or you don't understand how it works, it's not going to work. You need to kind of understand how nutrition works before you can actually follow through on anything. So it's like I followed it. Once I understood, I was able to understand, okay, this is why this happens. And you need to spike muscle protein synthesis, or basically that signal for your body to build muscle every 3 to 5 hours. And in order to do that, you need 30 to 50 grams of protein every sitting. And it wasn't until once I understood that it made much more sense why this plan was the way it was. And it wasn't that I had to eat these foods in this magical order, because that doesn't exist. So like if, for example, if I didn't want the eggs for breakfast, or if I was running late for school and I didn't have time for the eggs, I could have a shake. Like there was no difference there, but it wasn't explained to me. So the real problem was the lack of knowledge. Like I said, and I think in the beginning where the other problem fell with this was that some days I was under consuming food and other days I was over consuming food. And that led to me spinning my wheels for years until I really, really understood what nutrition actually meant and how to build muscle nutrition-wise, which is why I do these videos today. So now when I look back at this, I'm very thankful for that bodybuilder for writing me that first meal plan, because it ultimately pushed me into this field and pushed me into nutrition, and allows me to make videos for you guys. So this way I can teach you, so you understand how nutrition actually works. So this way you can go and execute on the plan that you're currently doing. Now, because you made it this far into the video, I want to give you a free gift. I have a free 6-week training program that's going to help you to build muscle, and totally free, no strings attached. All you gotta do is click that link below and get that program. This was Anthony, AB Fitness. I'll catch you on the next one.